Okay, so here is a chess situation that is mentioned, which is in the diagram here. And the question then asked is here at the bottom, which is can white mate in one move? So it means that playing as whites in this particular chess position, there are a few white pieces that we can notice is this rooks, a few pawns, and then the king himself, right? So playing as whites and considering this to be the white's next move, is it possible for white to make next move such that it's a checkmate on the black king? Black king is here at the top. Notice h8, sorry g8, and there are few other black pieces which are pawns, two bishops, and one rook. So, considering this to be the white's next move, is it possible that this move results in a checkmate? And the options are yes, option number one, and no, option number two. So, we have to figure out whether such next move is possible, which is a checkmate, and if yes, we have to draw an arrow, which is written at the bottom as part of the question is draw an arrow to indicate the mating move. So which exactly is the move from the white, which is a mating move? We have to draw it, like which piece is moved and where it is moved from the current location. Okay, so let's figure this out. um, we have actually created the similar setup in the board editor below, and so let's notice here that the black king, which is the target to checkmate, is at the top here in g8, and there are the white pieces, which is three pawns. One is here, another one is here, and the third one is here. The white king himself at g1, and then there are two rooks. One is at d6 and another one being at c1, right? So we notice there are no white knights, no white bishops, no white queen. So let's first notice the black king here at the top, and uh, since there are no white knights, there's no way to attack by jumping over the neighboring pieces, right? The only way this king can then be attacked is with a direct line of attack, either from the same row, this is the row that this king is in, or from the same column, which is this column, or from the diagonals which are crossing at this point, which are these. One is this diagonal, and another one is this diagonal, right? And noticing this square here, we see that the direct line to attack then to the king is then blocked in several of these, right? It's blocked from here, it's blocked from these diagonals. So the only and there is no way then any white piece can jump into this square because it's blocked here. So only possible way to attack this king is from this direction, from the same row, right? Or there's one other possibility in which its neighboring pieces, which is these black pawns, if any of the white piece can reach here to capture these pawn, any of these, then it would also be uh, attack or the check on the black king, because then the white pieces, and given that white pieces after reaching here have a valid move to this square, then it would mean that by capturing these black pawns and by having a legal valid move from that position to the king's position, it means that they would put this black king under check, right? So possible ways is to attack from this direction or capture these pawn, right? And among the white pieces we notice these pawns here, right? And looking at the distance from these pawns to the black king, right, this distance from each of the pawns to the black king, we see it's a large distance, right? So pawns, all of the three pawns are free to move, but they only move by a small step, which is one step. And since this king is pretty far away, it doesn't look like even after moving the pawn they would be in a position to check the king, right? So having this checkmate with the pawns is not going to be possible. And similarly with white king, we see that it is really really far away from the black king. So, and king only moves by small steps, so by moving this king around, we don't see a possibility of having a check on the black king. So neither the king nor the pawns can create the check on the black king. So only options are left, these two rooks, right? And rooks can only attack either in a row, either in a column, right, or in a row, right? They cannot move diagonally, so they cannot attack diagonally. So for these two rooks, any of these rooks, the only way for them to attack is to move into any of these squares that are in their rows, in this first row. And then since this row, even after moving them, it this is there's no other black element, black piece, that is going to come between them or the black king. So for example, if this white rook is moved to this square vertically up, by moving to this new square, it has a check on the king, right? And similarly for another rook, it is open to move to this square, and if it reaches here, it then has a direct check on the black king, right? So both of these have at least one possible move to make and check the king. Is there any other possibility? And we see that it's not, because these can either move in the column or the row, and by moving in the column they have the possible moves of check, right? But by moving in the row, they cannot come into the same column of the king, because their respective pieces are blocked, and the king has a immediate defense here in the black pawn. So only way for white to create check on the black is then use either of those rook and move into the respective square vertically up from them and put the king under check. So there are two possibilities in which white can check the king, right, in the next move. But is any one of them is a checkmate? That is the question we are dealing with here. So let's think about them one by one. And we see that if we move this particular rook, right, to the position above, it moves to the new square. And is this new, and it is putting the check on the black king here. Is how does the black, like, is this particular line of attack, can the black team evade it, right? Can they do something to stop it from becoming a checkmate? So is it a possibility that they can kill this checking piece, this rook here? And we don't think, and we don't actually see any black piece in a position that it can move and kill this white rook here in the next move, right? Nor the king, none of the pawns, nor the rook, nor the bishops, right? None of the black pieces can move to kill this. So killing it is not a possibility, and there are two empty squares in this line of attack from the white rook to the black king. There are two empty squares, and if a black piece could move and capture any of these squares, then it would basically block this line of attack from the white rook to the black king, and the attack would be neutralized. But as we notice, there are no black pieces that can capture these empty squares. Only the black king can. It can move to capture this square, but then it stays in the same line of attack. So that is not a legal move for the king to make. So, but we are missing something, right? We see that pawns cannot capture these empty squares, nor this rook, nor the king, nor this particular bishop, because it can only move this way, and that goes beyond the range of those empty squares. But there is this bishop also, and we see that from this bishop, this direction is open to move to this square, and we see a way that black can actually block this attack. So this attack is no longer a checkmate, right? So this particular move, which was originally the rook was here, to move the rook all the way up to this square to create the check, is not a checkmate. So the only other checking move remaining is this, using this rook at the bottom and moving it all the way up to this square in this row where the king resides, and then having the check on the black king, right? This is a check on the black king? And is it a possibility for the black team to be able to now neutralize or evade this attack? Is it a possibility that the black can kill this checking piece and save the king from attack? And we see again there is one black piece which has a direct line of attack open on this rook, on this checking piece, which is this bishop here. So if we move the bishop to capture the rook, the king is no longer under attack from the rook, and there is no other white piece attacking it right now. So the king is saved, and we see that this move here, this rook here, is not creating a checkmate. So going back to the original, we moved this rook all the way up from here to check the king, but we saw that it can be captured by the black piece, and the attack king is saved. There is no longer an attack on the king, right? So yeah, so my answer for this question, if I have to select an option, I would select the second option, which is a no. The white mate in one move is not a possibility because there were only two possible checks, and we saw both of them. Uh, Black was able to neutralize uh, by either blocking the attack or by killing the checking piece. So there is no arrow to indicate a mating move because there is no mating move. So my answer is no, and let's quickly check the answer as well. So yes, it says no. Observe both black bishops. So one black bishop here, it came in and blocked the attack from this rook, and the other black bishop here, this came in, was able to neutralize this particular rook when it was moved here. So yeah, thank you.